Welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Chinenye Moye. First, let's bring you the headlines. U.S. Secretary of State meets with Israel's Prime Minister in Jerusalem for talks on Gaza ceasefire. Federal government announces plans to revive and recapitalize Bank of Agriculture to enable farmers have access to credit. And Nigeria's First Lady addresses OAFLAD 29th Ordinary General Assembly seeks partnership to improve lots of women. Many thanks for joining us. President Bola Tinubu is assuring Nigerians in diaspora that his administration's reforms will deliver a more prosperous Nigeria that all citizens will be proud of, beginning from this year. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris gave the assurance as he represented the president at a meeting with executive of Nigerian community in Ethiopia. Our State House correspondent Musbah Danwaha brought in this report, but we'll bring you details of it in our subsequent bulletin. Nigeria's First Lady, as a positive force for change on the African continent, the Organization of African First Ladies for Development, or AFLAD, is seeking to improve the lots of women by building agencies and partnerships that can fast-track the implementation of its 2025-2030 strategic framework. This is the thrust of engagement at the organization's 29th Ordinary General Assembly held on the margins of the 38th African Union Summit in Addis Ababa. State House correspondent Adeniyi Taiwo reports that Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, addresses the session as a new member of the steering committee of OAFLAD.
They are the mothers of the continent, and the 29th General Assembly of the platform, the Organization of African First Ladies for Development, OAFLAD, is again convened to champion women's leadership and rights 30 years after the Beijing Women Conference of 1995.
A generation from now, my daughter...
Like it was then, issues about promoting opportunities for women, stemming gender-based violence, and securing the future of African children are still germane and rather more acute on the continent that now faces a $16 billion funding gaps. For Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu, the theme of the assembly is a call to reflect on African values and how they can impact a new vision and reality for women on the continent.
This year marks 3 decades since the adoption of the Beijing Declaration. The impact of this declaration is evident in the remarkable progress Nigerian women have made, emerging from our villages to big cities and even the world stage.
Although our journey with OAFLAD began in August 2023, she notes that much has been accomplished for women, youths, the aged, and other vulnerable groups in Nigeria through effective implementation of OAFLAD advocacy initiative by our pet project, the Renewed Hope Initiative.
I want to assure this gathering that I will do more for Nigerian women, girls, and the youth in line with OAFLAD's strategic framework 2025 to 2030, and we must all do our parts in our various countries to make us earn a place among the Committee of Nations. We must remember that Africa's true prosperity will be built upon the foundation of our rich history, vibrant cultures, and the strength of our people, with women and youth playing a pivotal role in shaping our future.
It is a defining moment for the organization, which is going through a leadership transition as the First Lady of Sierra Leone, Fatima Madabio, takes over from the First Lady of Namibia. But the vision, effective implementation of OAFLAD 2025-2030 strategic framework remains unchanged.
We can pursue this by leveraging every tool and resources at our disposal to achieve targets across each of these areas.
If we continue to work together towards our common vision of a developed Africa with healthy and empowered children, youth, and women.
Let us take a moment to reflect and pray for the nations in Africa that are facing war and conflict. May peace, justice, and stability prevail.
Well represented at the Assembly, international organizations and funding partners say they are poised to walk the next stretch of the road with OAFLAD, calling on the First Ladies to ride the momentum against existing and emerging threats confronting the future of the continent. From Addis Ababa, Adeniyi Taiwo, NTA News.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he discussed with visiting U.S. Secretary of State Marcus Rubio on President Trump's bold vision for Gaza. Kolo Mohammed tells us more.
On Gaza's future, President Trump asked U.S. Secretary of State Marcus Rubio to have an in-depth discussion with Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu and try to arrive at how best to work together to achieve a Gaza different from what it is right now, ensuring that a future turns out real.
To that, the president's been very clear. Hamas cannot continue as a military or government force. And frankly, as long as it stands as a force that can govern, or as a force that can administer, or as a force that can threaten by use of violence, peace becomes impossible. They must be eliminated. It must be eradicated.
President Trump's widely condemned proposal calls for the U.S. to take control of Gaza and relocate its more than 2 million residents. The future of Gaza, many across the world say, should be the exclusive business of Gazans. Kolo Mohammed, NTA.
And U.S. Secretary of State Marcus Rubio met with Israel's Prime Minister in Jerusalem on Sunday for talks on the Gaza ceasefire, launching a Middle East tour a day after the latest hostage prisoner exchange. On his first visit to the region as Washington's top diplomat, Rubio is expected to push U.S. President Donald Trump's widely condemned proposal to take control of Gaza and relocate its more than 2 million residents. The plan envisions redeveloping the coastal territory into the Riviera of the Middle East after it was devastated by more than 15 months of war. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed the idea during his recent White House visit, but foreign leaders have largely rejected it. Rubio arrived hours after Hamas freed 3 Israeli hostages in Gaza in exchange for 369 Palestinian prisoners, the 6th swap under the fragile ceasefire. Negotiations on a second phase of the truce, aimed at securing a more lasting end to the war, are expected to begin next week in Doha. The United States, Israel's top ally and weapons supplier, has said it is open to alternative proposals from Arab governments, but insists that for now, the only plan is Trump's. Rubio is also due to visit Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, with tough talks expected on Monday in Riyadh, a key player in Trump's regional strategy. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has proposed a constitutional reform project. Kolo Mohammed tells us more.
During a solemn session on the occasion of the 206th anniversary of the installation of the Congress of Angostura in the capital of Venezuela, the president calling to expressly and broadly include communal power and territorial power as the popular power. The current Venezuelan constitution dates back to 1999 and was promoted by late socialist leader Hugo Chavez, who modified it in 2009 so as to be re-elected indefinitely. Venezuelan president intends to have about 500 members elected by direct vote. It is, however, unclear how much time this will take, but will put on hold all elections in Venezuela, including upcoming governorship elections and the presidential election scheduled for late next year. President of the National Parliament says this call for a new constitution in Venezuela represents a continuation and consolidation of a coup in Venezuela. The country's opposition leader has asked citizens to take to the streets to protest, saying the government is fighting to keep Maduro's government and the president himself in power. In other news, a new island has emerged in Venice. The island situation.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has called for the creation of an army of Europe amid rising concern the U.S. may no longer come to the continent's aid. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference, he said U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance had made it clear the old relationship between Europe and America was ending and the continent needs to adjust to that. He also said Ukraine would never accept deals made behind its backs without their involvement. After Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin agreed to start peace talks, on Saturday, the U.S. Secretary of State Marcus Rubio held a phone call with Russia's Foreign Minister building on Wednesday's call between Trump and Putin. Pope Francis' respiratory tract infection is showing some signs of improvement, but the hospitalized pontiff will not lead his weekly Angelus prayer following Sunday Mass, the Vatican said Saturday. The 88-year-old pontiff was admitted Friday to Rome's Gemelli Hospital for treatment for what the Vatican called ongoing bronchitis, while planned audiences for Saturday and Sunday were cancelled. Today's laboratory tests show improvement in some values, it added. Doctors had prescribed absolute rest, so Francis will not lead Sunday's Angelus prayer, but instead send a text for its publication, the Vatican said. Earlier on Saturday morning, Francis took communion and then alternated rest with prayer and reading, it said. Ahead of his hospitalization, Francis had been seen breathless while reading speeches aloud and had delegated officials to read them on his behalf. At the hospital where Francis is occupying a special suite just for popes with its own chapel, family members of other patients wished the pontiff well. The Argentine pontiff, who had part of one of his lungs removed as a young man, has increasingly been plagued by health issues in recent years, despite continuing to maintain a busy schedule. A crash at New Delhi's railway station has left around 18 people dead and at least 10 injured. Thousands of people reportedly crammed into the railway station on Saturday night as they tried to board delayed trains. 4 of the victims were children, while 10 were women, according to a list released by officials. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said his thoughts were with all those who have lost their loved ones in a post on X. Crowd crushes are common in India, where there is frequent overcrowding at religious events, festivals, and public spaces. The incident comes week after 30 people were killed in a pre-dawn crush at the religious festival Kumbh Mela in northern India. Nigeria is taking a significant step towards promoting inclusivity in climate change responses with the Advocacy for Women with Disabilities Initiative, AUDI, leading the charge. The organization has launched the Inclusive Climate Action Team, which aims to ensure that women and girls with disabilities are not left behind in climate discussions and decisions. Gofan Ugwai reports.
The impact of climate change on women with disabilities is multifaceted. They face significant barriers in accessing information, resources, and services that can help them adapt to climate-related challenges.
Persons with disabilities.
The Advocacy for Women with Disabilities initiative is pushing for greater inclusion of persons with disabilities, particularly women, in climate decision-making processes, ensuring that women with disabilities are represented in climate policy development, implementation, and monitoring.
Whatever you are doing, you are thinking disability inclusion. In your work, you are thinking disability inclusion. When it comes to environmental issues, you are thinking disability inclusion. And we're also focusing on gender, because in every climate issues, women are hit more.
A woman with albinism. We have lost 2 from skin cancer, excess heat. It's also part of climate change.
And especially, what action do we include the disability to make sure that, yes, we have a plan for them, we tell them what to do in case of any flood or any climate change activity.
By promoting inclusivity and accessibility, Nigeria can ensure that its climate change responses are equitable, effective, and leaves no one behind. In Abuja, Gufan Shaji Ugwanyi, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. We'll take a break here. More stories shortly. Do stay. Many thanks for staying on. The federal government has announced plans to revive and recapitalize the Bank of Agriculture. Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Abdullahi, stated that this initiative aims to enhance farmers' access to credit, thereby boosting food production. He shared this information during a meeting with the Emir of Boku, Mohammed Sani Haliru. The minister emphasized that the government is implementing reforms within the Bank of Agriculture to improve its services to Nigerians and to ensure food is both accessible and affordable. Abdullahi also assured that efforts are underway to intensify the development of various cluster farms across the country.
And Mr. President has never left anybody in doubt as to why he has brought the Renewed Hope Agenda. And the Renewed Hope Agenda is designed to recalibrate Nigeria on the path of prosperity and inclusive growth so that no one is left behind, poverty is significantly reduced, food is available. The plan is to recapitalize the Bank of Agriculture and reform it and restructure it and unleash it on Nigerians so that they will do agriculture and make food available to be affordable, make food accessible to be affordable, and in the right nutritious content.
Literature is said to have the capacity to realign imperatives of leadership, making the interface between leaders and the led. In addition, it promotes inclusion for the good of citizens and the land. Kolo Mohammed reports that this came to the fore at the launch of a book titled Niger State Under a Great Democrat.
Author of the book says objectivity in the approach of leadership is magical in carrying everyone along in a way suggestive of democratic dividends. This reason motivated him to identify with the stance taken by the current governor of Niger State, Right Honorable Muhammad Morbago.
Governor Bago came into office with a clear vision, a new Niger agenda. And today, that vision is no longer just words. It is an action. It is an impact. And of course, it is a development.
In his welcome address, the chairman further laid bare why the governor's approach to leadership is off the regular political books.
The importance of good parental care cannot be overstated, as it lays the foundation for a child's future success. The former governor comes from a background of nobility, achieved not only by birth, but through hard work.
The representative of the governor, Professor Muhammad Kutayaya, His Royal Highness, the HNP, and others in attendance identified the power of literature as it relates to getting leadership stands on the right footing.
With signing like a compact with Niger Lines. When he told this is what he was going to do, people thought it was a joke, but he has surpassed expectations.
So see, and the link that's supposed to let the people know the genuinity of those policies are not connected. They are not connected. So unless and until you connect this link, this broken link of traditional institution with the people.
And when you speak or do every action of your life, you're doing it from the point of information. So reading is essential. It's very important.
The chairman asked the author to prepare to write further volumes as the former governor, Right Honorable Muhammad Morbago, is only getting started. Kolo Muhammad, NTA News.
The Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board, JAMB, has clarified that it does not select examination towns for candidates taking the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME, or the optional mock examination. In a statement signed by its head of public affairs, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, the board notes that 90% of the available slots for the optional mock examination across the country have been filled, leaving only a few states with available spaces. It said the only states with remaining slots for the optional mock examination are Gombe, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Plateau, Sokoto, Taraba, and Yobe. Candidates interested in taking the mock examination in these states are encouraged to select their examination towns accordingly, while emphasizing that the board does not want to be overstretched, since the mock examination is only meant to give candidates an opportunity to experience the computer-based test environment and enable JAMB to test its facilities. Candidates are advised to choose their examination towns carefully. They should consider travel logistics and convenience to ensure a smoother experience on the examination day. The Nigeria Police Force has intensified its operations against violent and organized crimes, achieving significant breakthroughs in various states. In a daring rescue mission, police operatives in Kebbi State stormed Tundafere Forest to rescue a kidnapped victim. 4 kidnappers were neutralized, 1 was arrested with fatal injury, and 3 million naira in ransom money was recovered. Similarly, in Imo State, a tactical raid has led to the neutralization of 2 IPOB AESN kingpins, the dislodgement of a terrorist camp, and the recovery of a large cache of weapons. A follow-up operation in Nkukwo Forest resulted in 3 more terrorists being neutralized and the seizure of firearms, motorcycles, and criminal charms. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has commended the operatives for their bravery and reaffirmed the force's commitment to maintaining internal security. And operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have busted a transborder drug trafficking syndicate, arresting 4 members in intelligence-led operations, during which multi-million naira worth of tramadol pills were recovered. In another interdiction, operatives of the Intelligence Department intercepted a commercial bus coming from Onitsha, Anambra State, at Abaji Checkpoint, FCT, Abuja, on 4th February, carrying motor spare parts in which a cocktail of illicit substances were concealed. And in Lagos, a 28-year-old lady was on Saturday, 15th February, arrested by operatives during a raid of her Lekki home, where 169.5 liters of nitrous oxide, popularly known as laughing gas, and 111 grams of flour were recovered. Meanwhile, raids and arrests of different types of illicit substances, including water advocacy, were carried out in Kano, Rivers, Borno, Ekiti, Taraba states during the week under review. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu congratulates Malam Nasiru Ahmed El-Rufai on his 65th birthday. Malam El-Rufai is an administrator, scholar, and politician. He is a founding member of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and highly regarded for his resourcefulness and brilliance. He served as governor of Kaduna State for 8 years, and prior to elective office, he had served as Director General of Bureau of Public Enterprises and Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, from 2003 to 2007. President Tinubu celebrates him on this occasion and commends his endeavors for democracy, his meritorious service to the nation, and mentorship of the younger generation. The President acknowledges Malam El-Rufai's role in the dialogues leading up to the formation of the APC and his contribution to the success of the party in 3 consecutive elections of 2015, 2019, and 2023. He wishes him good health and strength for continuous service to the nation. And here is a check on Sunday's weather prospects for Nigeria and some cities of the world. That was actually Monday's weather forecast. And this is where we end the news on NTA International. Many thanks for watching. I am Chinenye Mwe.